Hello, everyone, and inside this emergency episode of Locked On Canadiens, Juraj Slafkovsky got paid.
You're Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a bonus episode of Locked On Canadiens, your daily Montreal Canadiens podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you get your team every single day of the week, wherever you get your daily podcast, Google, Apple, Spotify, or here on YouTube.com. Don't worry, we have a full free agency development camp show coming later on this evening for Tuesday morning. This is an immediate emergency show, which tells you big things have happened. The biggest things, the greatest things, the best things you've ever seen have happened. Yes, that's right. The Canadiens signed 6 players to AHL contracts today. That was the biggest news of the day until at about, let's say, 4 o'clock. The Montreal Canadiens announced that they had signed forward Juraj Slafkovsky to an 8-year, $7.6 million AAV contract, coming in just over $60 million total at the end of it. And for those of you wondering, where does this rank on the Canadiens' listing of things? It is below Caulfield and below Nick Suzuki. All 3 of the Canadiens' top stars are making under $8 million and are signed into, and this is a phrase I'm going to hate saying, the next decade. It's a huge bit of business. I wasn't sure if this was actually going to get done today or throughout the summer here. This is the first of, I believe, 3 major contracts that were due for players. Slafkovsky had another year on his deal still, but after the calendar turned over into the next season on July 1st here, he was eligible for an extension, and because he was already on the team at the trade deadline, etc., he is eligible for an 8-year contract extension. This is incredible business work by Kent Hughes. This is now his entire top line signed under $8 million a piece. So under $24 million total, or around $24 million total for his entire top line, with the line of Newhook, Doc, etc. behind him here. And this is, as you will see on the side of the screen here on YouTube, this is a gamble worth taking. This is a guy who had a very quiet rookie season and, ended that on the injured list from kind of a freak knee injury, nothing he could do about that. And then started this year slowly. This was a year where people are going, hey, should they send him to the AHL? Hey, was this the right move overall? He doesn't look like he's fitting. And then this is coming right from the Eyes on the Prize article here. They went on a road trip in mid-December, and there was a game in Vancouver. And then something in his brain switched. He was permanently attached to the top line in Montreal. In the final 53 games, he put up 43 points, ended the year with 50 plus points, 20 goals. This is a gamble you take every single time, because you are going to then have a team. You are betting on a player continuing his upward trajectory in the NHL here. And everything we saw is that there were flashes. And then all of a sudden it wasn't flashes. It was consistency. He finished last year, despite not starting the year exactly with a bang, 50 points in 82 games on a team that finished bottom 5 in the NHL, put up 9 points in international play, 8 assists at the World Championships point per game pace there. Obviously a star at the Olympics and the Olympic qualifiers for Slovakia and at their World Championships. He is the next wave of Slovak superstars here. This is the kind of move that feels so different from the previous regime, where young players, even stars, and I am not saying Juraj Slafkovsky is a star yet. He is well on his way there, which is why this works out. Because I look at the previous regime, guys like Alex Galchenyuk, bridge deal. A guy like PK Subban, bridge deal, and then he got paid and then traded immediately. Very few people, even young budding players or established stars, seem to get the bag immediately. Carey Price got paid, deservedly so, for what was years and years of being the best player on the Canadiens. Brendan Gallagher got a long-term extension that he had rightfully earned, and then, of course, promptly fell off a cliff with injuries and everything else. But this is the exact kind of gamble I want the Canadiens taking. And we'll talk about, the free agents they did and did not sign in our main show. But Hughes said going 4 or 5 years starts to block our younger guys that we want coming into this lineup. And I'm okay with them going, I'm okay with maybe not signing the biggest vet free agent out there. Were there names out there that I would have liked on this team? Absolutely would have loved that. I think David Perron would have been a nice fit. The Patrick Kane 1 year thing was absolutely just leverage, but a guy like Jonathan Marchessault, I would have loved if they took a run at Steven Stamkos. But at the same time, getting that much term kind of clogs the pipes a little bit. And when you have guys that are going to be coming up in the next couple years, you're looking for Owen Beck to be in the lineup. You're looking for Philip Machar to be in the lineup. You're looking for regular Joshua Watt in the lineup. You're looking at Ivan Demidov after, this year. And we'll talk about what the contending window now looks like in a little bit. But you don't want to clog that. Juraj Slafkovsky is now established as one of your biggest stars on this team. And next year, they can go Caulfield, Suzuki, Slafkovsky. They can go Doc Slafkovsky, Newhook, and find another fit on that top line there. They have options. This is the move that I want to see the Montreal Canadiens taking. They're not waffling about. They are committed to keeping this path forward here. And people are going to go, why are they paying him so much now? They're betting on that upside continuing, that Slav could be a 65-point player next year. If his next year ends up being a 30-goal plateau or a 30-goal point and it continues to rise, that contract next year probably starts with an 8 to a 9, depending on how strongly he plays all year. Getting this now, when the cap is rising up to potentially $93 million next year, eats up less of that overall cap now. And it keeps that top line sink there, that no one is getting paid more than Nick Suzuki, deservedly so. And I mean that fairly. Nick Suzuki is the best player on the Montreal Canadiens. That's not really up for debate. And it shows a lot in these guys that, hey, we are willing to come in under that because he's the captain and we respect him on that. I'm so giddy about this, that number 20 is here to stay for the long-term future. He's just turned 20 years old. He won't even be 30 when this contract is up, which means he's still got a couple of prime years left at the end there, where you might be hoping that the Canadiens are maybe in a deep, deep contending window. And we're going to talk about what their window looks like and how this impacts the market coming up next. But first, the playoffs are all over in the NBA and the NHL. Major League Baseball is in full swing, and I love sports. I love sports, and I never want the sports to stop. But as all that is coming to an end and winding down, we've got fewer games on TV, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood for that. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. You want to bet on dingers, the home run derby. You want to see how much the next person is going to get overpaid in the NHL. You can do that on FanDuel. Just head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon to start making the most out of your summer with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and us here at Locked On. We are back, or I should say I am back here at Locked On Canadiens. I didn't even introduce myself. I'm Scott Metla, smiling politely. And Juraj Slafkovsky secured the bag. 8 years, $7.6 million AAV. That right now seems like a lot of money. And the thing is, Habs fans are excited because this is their young star locked up. They don't got to worry about this for another almost full decade. 9 years. We don't have to worry about this for another 9 years, which is just such a freeing experience. The people who aren't happy are Detroit Red Wings fans. And I was in the For Hockey Fans Slack, and for good reason, they are a little bit frustrated. They are happy that Slafkovsky got paid because good players should get paid. They are now in a spot that is a little bit more difficult because the Red Wings have two young stars, to pay, one of whom is Lucas Raymond, fitting in that same spot as Slafkovsky, a star winger on your top line for a team on the rise. And the thing is, Raymond has had far more successful seasons than Slafkovsky has at this point. Seasons of 57 points, 45 points, and 72 points last year. Lucas Raymond was always going to get paid at some point by the Red Wings. The baseline now starts at about $7.5 million. And I'm wondering if Steve Yzerman is now looking at Ken Hughes and going, dude, what the hell have you done to me? Because the Canadiens have set the market on your young winger coming off his entry-level contract or in his entry-level contract needing an extension. $7.5 million is probably where your baseline starts for a guy who should average 50 plus points a season. Let's say 20 goals, 50 plus points. Raymond's been over that, and he was on a very dangerous offensive Red Wings team, except for the month of March. Raymond's contract probably starts with an 8 to a potentially a 9 at this point, and he's not the only one on that team who's got to get paid. You have Moritz Seider as well, who is also, quite frankly, one of their best players. He's coming in 23 years old. He's coming off. He's going to be needing a new contract now. This is the end of his rookie contract. 50 points, 42 points, 42 points as a defenseman for the Red Wings. Homeboy's going to get paid. And again, because Slafkovsky started here and these guys are putting results in above that more consistently at this point, not that I don't think Slafkovsky can be that guy, the Montreal Canadiens have set the market on this. You have Shane Pinto, who was qualified but is now looking for a trade. What is he going to potentially cost the Senators to re-sign or a team trading for him? What is he going to cost to sign? 23 years old, kind of a focal point there, coming off his entry-level deal, looking to get a pretty, substantial raise for all these points here. All of these contracts are starting at $7.5 million now. Unless you have a very good GM or a very, very team-friendly player. Let me put it that way. The Canadiens have now kind of set the market on that. But I realized I skipped over a topic here, is that what does the Canadiens window look like now? And I'm going to go to the soon-to-be deceased cap-friendly in Requiem Pace and look at this here. The Canadiens window probably starts now with the draft, with the players they got in the draft last year and this year, and arguably the year before that in Slafkovsky's draft year. The window to contention probably opens in 2025, because that is when Ivan Demidov is going to be out of his KHL contract ends at the end of SKA St. Petersburg's season this upcoming spring, 2025. He might come over for a handful of games. I am not expecting the Montreal Canadiens to be a contending franchise at that point, but the 2025-2026 season is when I would expect the Montreal Canadiens to begin being a playoff team or pushing for that playoff spot. They could be a lot of fun this year. If all the dice land the right way, the Canadiens could be a really fun team this year. Playoff team, not sold fully, not without some maybe tweaks and improving the defense or, the depth in the bottom six there. I think those are possible things. But in 2025, 2026, on the NHL roster fully, you will have Nick Suzuki, you will have Cole Caulfield, you will have Alex Newhook, you will have Kirby Doc, you will have Juraj Slafkovsky. You are hoping to have Ivan Demidov, Joshua Watt, and Owen Beck as well. Potentially a guy like Philip Machar. Michael Hage will still be in college. Samuel Montembeault will be entering the second of 3 years in that contract that he signed as an extension. Jacob Fowler will potentially be up there. You will have Lane Hudson on the roster. You are looking for extensions potentially for Caden Gooley and Arbor Jacki. Mike Matheson in the last year of his deal. David Savard will be off the books. Jordan Harris may or may not be on the team. He's an RFA. You are having enough young guys coming in that your window opens in the 2025-2026 season. And just going down the prospect list of guys who are signed currently for that. Everyone on this list is currently signed, but is not maybe extended beyond that point. You'll have Oliver Kapanen, who was signed in 25-26. Luke Tuck, Sean Farrell's up for a contract. Emil Heineman's up for a contract. Philip Machar, Florian Jacki, Jacob Perreault is up for a contract. Jared Davidson is signed. Xavier Simoneau is up for a contract. Owen Beck is signed. Riley Kidney is signed. Joshua Waugh is signed. On defense, Reinbacher, Engstrom, Mailloux are all signed. Struble and William Trudeau will be up for contracts that year. Justin Barron we're waiting on. Jakob Dobish will be an RFA. Connor Hughes will be a UFA. You have a window starting that year that I think at that point, that's when Slafkovsky's new deal kicks in and some of these other extensions also kick in. Caden Gooley's will as well, maybe a Jordan Harris, etc. Potentially Jacob Fowler's ELC as well, that you start going for it then. The window for the Montreal Canadiens is absolutely starting in 2025. And it all starts, quite frankly, with when Ivan Demidov arrives, because his arrival coincides with the start of Slafkovsky's new contract. And at that point, you have a very star-studded, potentially top six. You have Caulfield, Suzuki, Slafkovsky. You will have potentially Newhook, Doc, Demidov, Waugh, Doc, Demidov, whomever. And then on your third line, you might have still a Josh Anderson if he's still here. If someone else steals that role there, can Oliver Kapanen or Owen Beck become the third line center instead of Christian Dvorak? Can Xavier Simoneau and his frustrating, Honey Badger style make it in the NHL at that point? Will Florian Jacki continue his massive upward trend? It's all potentially there. That window is sooner than we thought. And I think that the Canadiens are now slowly beginning to turn out of sell everything and start keeping and extending other parts of this franchise. This is the last year I think we're going to see them be heavy sellers. You still have Dvorak, you still have Savard that are on the last year of the deal that you might want to move out. You have a guy like Josh Anderson that you absolutely want to move out. Also, and this is a big part, coming off the book in retained salary at the end of the next season, Jeff Petrie and Jake Allen. That's $4.268 million coming off the books that will now be able to be freed up. They were free of Carl Alsner's cap hit. The Joel Edmondson retained salary came off the books. They're going to start having all of a sudden a lot more money to play with when some of these other contracts are expiring. And it's the perfect time for that window to be opening, because then you look at your team, you go, all our young guys are potentially where we think they're going to be at. What do we need? And then these star forwards that are hitting unrestricted free agency are looking and going, okay, we can do 3 to 4 years on this and plug them in here because that's what we need. Hey, we need someone on defense potentially. Hey, we need a winger for this second line spot here. These are all things that can be done for them. And that's such a huge opportunity, because we're going to see Ken Hughes go from cleaning house to filling it up with prime rib, hopefully, on everything. It is such a good time to be a Canadiens fan. This is the most optimistic I've seen. The past week is the most optimistic I have seen this fan base in a long, long time. It's been a long couple of years since that Stanley Cup final and everything that has gone along with it. But this past week, between Demidov and Hage and now extending Slafkovsky and not overspending on some of these free agents, the best time that I've seen for the Canadiens. This was, of course, just a bonus episode. We're keeping it short because I wanted to get this out and talk to you all about this because it is important. Juraj Slafkovsky is a Montreal Canadien for the next 9 seasons at the very least. Thank you so much for this very quick episode. Like I said, we will have a full episode covering free agency and development camp and everything else coming out tonight for Tuesday morning. This is going out immediately. You'll be able to listen to this on Monday night. You can follow us on Twitter at @LO_Canadian. Send us your best Slafkovsky reactions. We'll read them out on the show this week. You can tweet us at @LO_Canadians. Email us at lockedoncanadians@gmail.com. You can follow me at Scott Matla. Folks, it has been a pleasure. I will see you all tonight. And remember to live, slav, and love.